Let's look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, Brad Holmes is going into his second year as the Detroit Lions general manager, and although everybody is excited and talking about the future of this Detroit Lions franchise, it's not too early to look back on Brad Holmes' career as the general manager so far and kind of grade the moves that he has made and kind of look back at his past to see how much confidence we should have in his future. So in today's video, with the NFL season being over, with us having a full NFL season to evaluate Brad Holmes' first NFL draft as a general manager, we obviously got a lot of information from that. We've seen who played well, who didn't play well. We've saw the standout players and the players that fell behind. And in today's video, I want to take a look back at that 2021 NFL draft class for the Detroit Lions and really just regrade the class, show who was great, who was average, who stood out, and who was a star, and who, of course, has a little ways to go. So in today's video, that is exactly what we are going to be doing. We are going to be talking about last year's draft class, everything from Penei Sewell to Jamal Jefferson, giving each player a player grade for the season, a rookie grade for their 2021 rookie season, and, of course, overall, at the end of it, grade the entire draft class for Brad Holmes' first shot at. So with all that being said, and without any further ado, let's start off with the 7th overall pick in Oregon offensive tackle Penei Sewell. Now, Penei Sewell was looked at as one of the greatest players in this draft class. He was looked at as arguably the most talented player with the most upside in this entire draft. And of course, just based off circumstances, based off positional needs, with Trevor Lawrence going 1 and Zach Wilson going 2, with quarterbacks going 1, 2, and 3 off the board in a row, with wide receivers and tight ends going 5 or 4 through 6. That left the Pro Bowl caliber offensive tackle to fall right into the laps of the Detroit Lions at the 7th overall selection. And the Lions did not think twice. They didn't think about trading the pick. They immediately, as soon as they saw Jalen Waddle go at 6, they turned in their card at number 7 to get Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle from Oregon. Now, Penei Sewell, being a player that had a phenomenal college career, a player that only allowed 1 sack in 3 collegiate years of playing football in the Pac-12, had a lot of high expectations going in to 2021 as, of course, a Detroit Lions first-round pick, and just being hyped up as being a true generational talent from his size, athleticism, and his blocking ability. So with that being said, how well did Penei Sewell actually fare in the NFL? Well, he started off really sluggishly, started off very slow, especially in the preseason as he made his transition to right tackle. He gave up a lot of pressures in the preseason. The very first offensive play and series even of the preseason, he looked like a really poor draft choice, to say the least. He allowed a sack in his first pass blocking snap of his NFL career in the preseason, but it did get better from there. The rest of that first preseason game, he looked really good as a run blocker and looked better as a pass blocker as the game went on. And there's, of course, after that game, there was some speculation about Penei Sewell being a starting quality tackle and whether he was going to be the next bust of the Detroit Lions. But Penei Sewell over the preseason worked incredibly hard, took a lot of snaps at both left and right tackle, and overall turned out really good on the season. He played at a Pro Bowl caliber level, wasn't drafted, wasn't selected to the Pro Bowl, but played at the level of every other Pro Bowl tackle that there was. He and Rashawn Slater were really the two offensive, really the right tackles that were, considered for the Pro Bowl. They were considered the two best tackles of this draft class, and Penei Sewell was rated as the highest tackle from weeks 6 to 17 in the NFL season. Now, Penei Sewell in his rookie season played 1,039 pass blocking snaps, or played 1,039 offensive snaps for the Detroit Lions, some of those, of course, being pass blocking and some of those being run blocking. He had 11 penalties allowed, ranking just second among offensive tackles in the NFL to reach a threshold in order to be counted for that. And then, of course, he allowed 5 sacks on the season. He had a little bit of a struggle weeks 1 to 4. Shut out Nick Bosa in week 1, but weeks 2 through 4 really struggled with the NFL speed. Really kind of, I think Nick Bosa underestimated Penei Sewell a little bit, and I think Penei Sewell just really had one of his better games to start his NFL career. Struggled a little bit from weeks 2 to 5, weeks 2 to 4, had some sack problems, had some pressure issues, but he did figure it out later, and after the bye week, he moved back to right tackle after Taylor Decker returned from his thumb injury, and those two made one of the best tackle duos in the NFL for the season. Penei Sewell is locking down the right tackle position, playing like one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL. In the 2022 season, or in the 2021 season, his rookie year, he shut out Bradley Chubb and Aaron Donald and Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. He shut out TJ Watt and Nick Bosa, who are some of the top pass rushers in the NFL. Our future is very safe with Penei Sewell at the right tackle position. You could not have gotten a better talent or a better player at the 7th overall pick, so this pick right away was an easy A+. And the draft started off phenomenally for the Detroit Lions, but right after that, coming around to the 41st overall selection, the Lions' second pick in that draft, it didn't go so well. Levi Onwuzuriki was graded as one of the highest and one of the best defensive tackles in this year's draft class, but he wasn't quite able to show it in his rookie season. Levi Onwuzuriki only played in 50% of the snaps or more in a single game once this season, and that was in Week 13 versus the Minnesota Vikings, in the game where the Lions saw their first victory of the season. Now, Levi was not a bad player, to say the least. Levi Onwuzuriki was a player that showed a lot of flashes in his career, showed a lot of flashes early in his rookie season. He wasn't able to start week 1 as he was on the injury report, but was healthy for 16 of the Lions' 17 games and did play in every single one of those games that he was active for. Now, in his rookie season, Levi Onwuzuriki had 35 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, one quarterback sack, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 passes defended. He showed a lot of flashes in his career. He showed a lot of flashes in his rookie year early, and overall was not a bad player. And I'm not trying to say that he was a bad player, but for the 41st overall pick, with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah sitting there looking you and staring you right in the face, I think Owusu-Koramoah would have been the better pick. And I think there are players that could have been selected instead of Onwuzuriki that would have had a more immediate impact for the Detroit Lions. But overall, he was not a bad player. And overall, I still think the future is bright with Onwuzuriki at the defensive tackle position. He needs to get a little bit more consistent. He needs to, improve on certain aspects of his game here and there. But overall, he was not a bad football player. I gave it a C- as a grade just because of the inconsistencies and because of the lack of statistical success. But that does not mean I think he is a bad pick overall. And that does not mean that I don't think he doesn't have a bright future in Detroit. I really think he can develop in year 2 and become the pass rushing defensive tackle threat that a lot of people saw him when he was at the University of Washington. Now, moving on to the 72nd overall pick, the Lions' first pick of the 3rd round in 2021. They wanted to double up at defensive tackle, but instead of getting a pass rushing threat, they wanted to go with a run-stopping traditional nose tackle. So they selected Alim McNeill, the defensive tackle, the nose tackle from NC State. Now, Alim McNeill was recently selected to the NFL's All-Rookie team alongside former draft class member Christian Barmore. Of course, they were part of the same draft class and were both rookies this year. But of all the defensive tackles and all the defensive linemen taken in this year's draft class, Alim McNeill was viewed and graded as the best defensive tackle of this class. Alim McNeill didn't put up a lot of stats, but that was never going to be his role. His role is to draw double teams, his role is to penetrate the pocket, and his role is to make quarterbacks uncomfortable. I can say very confidently that he did his job very, very well in 2021. He had 39 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a pass defended, along with numerous pressures in the pocket that forced the quarterback to move out that allowed his teammates like Austin Bryant, Julian Okwara, Derrick Barnes, and several other pass rushers to get sacks and to fill up their stat sheets, whereas Alim McNeill may not have gotten credit for the play, but was definitely involved in just about every single sack the Detroit Lions had this season. Now, Alim McNeill, a third-round pick, a guy that, isn't necessarily expected to be a all-pro or isn't expected to be a Pro Bowl caliber player and wasn't even expected to be an all-rookie player this year. But he played well enough. He played his role really well. He was a big part of the Detroit Lions defensive line this season. And the pass rush they did have, a lot of it came from Alim McNeill. I give this grade an A-. This is a guy that stepped up big, definitely outperformed his draft grade. I don't think you're going to find 72 players in this class that are better than Alim McNeill. Great value for the pick. Great player for that pick. Overall, A- grade, because obviously, he's not the flashiest player, isn't going to be the biggest impact player, but for the role that we wanted him to play, you couldn't have asked for much better than Alim McNeill. Now, moving on to pick 101 with Ifeatu Malafona. Ify definitely struggled this season with injury, and that's really the only area that he struggled this season. He was only able to play in 7 games and only was able to start 4 of those games. But in the 4 games that he started, I thought at least he looked really good. He was really close in coverage, really hard to get away from if you were a wide receiver. He was in a position to make a lot of plays, had 2 fumble recoveries in his rookie season. I believe was targeted 18 times only in his rookie year and had 3 pass defended in his time as a starter. I mean, he had a really nice pass deflection versus Green Bay before he got hurt in the first game, had a fumble recovery week 1 and in week 17 versus those Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, he got a couple turnovers for the Lions, wasn't able to stay on the field a lot because, again, he got injured and then he was placed on the COVID list. But in the time that he did play, I thought he looked really, really solid for a 101st overall draft pick. And I think he has a very bright future, either as a potential starter long-term for the Detroit Lions or as a long-term backup and a long-term depth piece that gets rotated in depending on packages and coverages. So that being said, I gave Ifeatu Malafona a B- grade. I think the potential is there. I think he has the opportunity to grow a lot as a player in year 2, but just because of the injuries and because of the small sample size, I don't want to give the grade too highly because, again, the best ability in the NFL is availability, and that's something that Ify definitely needs to improve on in year 2. Getting on to my favorite draft pick, and it's not for biased reasons, Amon-Ra St. Brown was selected with the 112th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. And Amon-Ra St. Brown had a very, very slow start to his NFL career. He did not get a lot of targets, averaged just, I believe, 3 to 5 targets in the first 7 games of the NFL season. Got a little bit more of the workload as the season went on, but in his last 6 games, starting with the Lions' first win in Detroit versus the Minnesota Vikings, Amon-Ra St. Brown took off. He had over 8 receptions and 70 yards in the last 6 games of his NFL rookie season. And I believe had 10 catches and over 100 scrimmage yards, or 10 touches and 100 scrimmage yards in the last 3 games, and also totaled 5 touchdowns on the season. As a total on the year and as a total for his 2021 rookie season, Amon-Ra St. Brown totaled 97 total touches for 976 total yards and 6 total touchdowns, being both from receptions and from rushing attempts on the ground. This pick was an A. This pick was probably the best player available. And you know what? Just because I'm a little biased, I'm going to give it an A+. You're not going to find 16 better receivers than Amon-Ra St. Brown. He finished, I believe, 4th as far as wide receivers in receiving yards, and finished 2nd among wide receivers, or at least rookie wide receivers, in total receptions. Had 112 targets as a rookie and had 97 receptions for almost 1,000 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns as a rookie. He has an incredibly bright future both out of the slot and as a gadget player for the Detroit Lions. He was a huge part as to why the Lions found success in the win column late into the season. They figured out if you lean on St. Brown, you lean on the Sun God, he is going to get you production and he is going to help you get some victories. It's an A+. You're not going to find a better player at 112. And overall, just is one of the best players of this draft class. It is one of the best players of the 2021 draft class as a whole. Now you move on to the 113th pick. Didn't wait long to make your next selection. At 113, the Lions selected Derrick Barnes, the linebacker from Purdue. Derrick Barnes had some ups and downs in his rookie season, was a preseason standout for the Detroit Lions and definitely took some of that momentum into the actual NFL regular season. Derrick Barnes is a guy that wasn't expected to get a lot of time, was expected to be a developmental player, a guy that, sits on the bench for a while, gets in on some packages, gets in on some blitzing packages and some run-stopping packages, but wasn't going to be a pass coverage guy, wasn't going to be somebody that's a three-down linebacker. And very early in the preseason were all of those accusations proven to be incorrect. Derrick Barnes, in his rookie season, actually totaled 67 total tackles, had 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 passes defended, and did so while only starting 6 games for the Detroit Lions. He was really good in the preseason, and when he was called upon, looked really, really good in the regular season. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions lean on him more in the future. Overall, I give this draft pick a B overall in grade, mostly because he didn't get a lot of playing time this year, but in the playing time he did get, he was really, really good, and I'm trying not to be biased and give him too highly of a grade because he didn't do anything spectacular, didn't force any turnovers per se, and wasn't a big playmaking linebacker, but for the limited role that he did have, I think that his production of 67 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, I think that's really good production for a player that never really saw more than 50% of defensive snaps in a single game. So I give the pick a B overall, and I would expect Derrick Barnes to have a bigger, larger, and more impactful role in 2022 for the Detroit Lions. And then we waited for over 100 picks. We waited for 143 picks to get to the last pick at 256. And with that being the case, the Lions, with just 3 picks remaining in the entirety of the NFL draft, before undrafted free agency hit, the Lions selected Jamal Jefferson, the running back from Oregon State. Now, Jamal Jefferson, I thought, showed a lot of flashes in the preseason and showed a lot of flashes in just 15 touches for the Detroit Lions in the regular season. He had 15 touches for the Detroit Lions in 2021 and had 15 touches as a rookie running back in the NFL. But on those 15 touches, he totaled 74 total yards and 2 touchdowns. I believe averaged over 5 yards per carry on the season, or was very close to 5 yards a carry in his rookie season on a very, very limited role. And of course, when you have, Craig Reynolds emerging as your RB3, when you have DeAndre Swift as your RB1 and Jamal Williams as your RB2, it's going to be hard to vulture those carries from those veteran guys and from those guys that are just simply making better plays than you. But if Jamal Jefferson is your 4th running back, and if your 4th running back is averaging 5 yards per carry and on 15 carries gets you almost 100 yards, well, not 100, it gets you about 75 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's pretty good production for a 7th-round rookie. Now, other classes or other players I wanted to mention very, very briefly include the undrafted free agency class, because I do count that as your first draft class per se. So a couple standouts there: Jerry Jacobs, Brock Wright, and A.J. Parker were phenomenal. A.J. Parker was the starting slot cornerback and came away with several passes defended and an interception despite struggling with injury. Jerry Jacobs, I believe, started 9 games for the Detroit Lions, had several passes defended, wasn't able to come up with that interception, but was super impactful for the Detroit Lions when they were suffering at cornerback depth. And then Brock Wright had 2 receiving touchdowns in his rookie year, was a really good blocker in the running game, and actually got open quite a few times down the field and showed that he's not only a blocking tight end, but that he can be a vertical threat in this offense as well. That being said, that's all I have for you guys today. Overall, the draft class, I would give it a B+. I think you got 3 superstars on the offensive side of the ball. I think you got 3 stars in this draft class in Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Ali McNeil. You got 3 more potential starters outside of that with Ifeatu Malafona, with Levi Onwuzuriki, and Derrick Barnes. The only player that I don't think has a bright enough future to start or be a star in this offense is Jamal Jefferson. And of course, you got 3 more starters by the end of the season with A.J. Parker, Jerry Jacobs, and Brock Wright to finish it out. You got, 6 quality, you got 9 quality players in this draft class, 9 players that saw starting significant playing time, and 9 players that impacted your team positively in their rookie seasons. That is a B+, A- kind of a draft. I didn't think the Lions got a true breakout superstar, nobody that was like rookie of the year, nobody that was like, defensive player of the year, like a Micah Parsons or like a Jamar Jefferson or like a Jamar Chase. And if we had somebody that was like, oh, they can win Rookie of the Year, they can win some kind of an award, I would have given it an A+. But because they didn't have, that true top of the class kind of player, I think an A- is a very, very good grade for the Detroit Lions overall, looking back at Brad Holmes' first attempt at the NFL draft as the Lions general manager. So with all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Let me know your guys' thoughts and grades for this draft class looking back on it. What players would you have drafted? What players would you have not drafted if you knew their future in rookie seasons with the Lions? I'd be very curious to hear what you guys thought about this draft class looking back on it after the 2021 season. But with all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions!